Hi, welcome back to our Music Theory Fundamentals course. This is going to be lesson 6. We're going to be talking about whole steps and half steps. In our last lesson we talked about the octave and maybe just a quick review of the octave. The octave is a very special interval in music, and when I say interval I'm talking about the distance between two pitches. So if you recall from our last lesson, when you play a pitch and then play another pitch that's an octave apart, remember each sound is composed of many different smaller components. And when two sounds or two pitches are an octave apart, those individual components of the more complex sound, they line up in such a way, they map onto each other in such a way that there are virtually identical notes. Remember that their partials line up in such a way that the spacing is all equal, and there's a harmony that happens, a consonance and a stability that's very unique to the octave. I mean, they're virtually the same note. So when we talk about scales and everything, it's based on this fundamental concept of the octave and dividing the octave in different parts. Today we divide the octave, in Western music, we divide the octave into 12 equal parts. It hasn't always been the case. There have been times in the history Western music history, that the octave wasn't divided equally, but over the last 100 years or so we've really settled on the practice of using what's called equal temperament, and that has a reference to the octave being divided into 12 equal parts. And so here you see this graphic of the guitar fretboard, and the strings lay over the fretboard like this, and these little lines here are the frets. Well, if we play this string without pressing our fingers down at all, it's called an open string, we'll get a certain pitch. And then as we place our finger just after the 12th fret and pluck the string again, we're going to get the interval that is an octave above, and they're going to sound very similar. And so we divide the octave into 12 equal parts. One of those parts is called a half step. So if I were to place my finger on this fret, on this string, and pluck it, and then slide my finger up onto this fret and pluck it, I would hear two sounds, or two pitches, that are a half step apart. So this is considered a half step. So a half step is moving up 1/12 of an octave, or moving down. You can go in either direction. But movement within the octave by 1/12 would be referred, that's called a half step. So a whole step is when we go up two half steps. So two half steps equal a whole step. A whole step is equal to two half steps. So if I were to place my finger on this string, pluck it, and then go up 2 frets, place my finger here and pluck it, I would hear a note that was 2 half steps or a whole step apart. Here on the piano, we have the same idea. So here, this key right here is labeled C. Remember, this is going back to our musical alphabet, how we start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we start over again with A. Well, this key right here is called a C. And you can the way you find a C is you see how the keys are grouped together. We have 3 black keys and 2 black keys, and that just repeats over and over. You see, 2, 3, 2, 3. The note just to the left of the lower of black key of the 2 black keys that are grouped together, that's always a C. Okay, so here's another group of 2 black keys, and so this key right here would also be a C. Well, if we start here, we can count up 12 and get back to the C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And there we have the C again. Okay, so from from one C to the next, we have 12 keys in between, and they are all they're 12 equal divisions. And so when we move up one key or one fret on the guitar or one key on the piano, we're moving by a half step, or similarly we could go down. If we go from one key to the next, and sometimes here you see on the piano I'm going from a white to a black, but here I'm going from a white to a white. That's fine. That's still just a half step, and that's still just a half step. And likewise, I can go down on the guitar and we have a half step, or I can go down 2 frets and we have a whole step. So a whole step is equal to 2 half steps, and a half step, there are 12 half steps in an octave. Octave is divided into 12 equal parts. Those parts are called half steps, and a half step is one of those, and a whole step is 2 of those. So from this key to this key is a whole step. From this key to this key is a half step. From this key to this key is a whole step because we're going up 2 half steps. And from this key to this key is only a half step because we're only going 1 key. Okay, so I hope that made sense to you, introducing what a whole step and a half step, what they are and what they consist of. Thanks very much.